Are you a South Asian woman in your 20s, 30s, or 40s and looking for your partner, your soulmate? Then this video is for you. Hi, I'm Sarika Jane, love and dating coach for smart professional women seeking soulmate love. And my focus is on helping women attract healthy love, lasting love. So today I'm going to be talking to you about how you can turn your single situation around and also how to deal with the stress of being single, especially as a South Asian woman. So, I totally understand. I'm the eldest of three daughters, and throughout my 20s, my parents were asking me when will you find your partner? And trust me, I tried. I did everything. I dated, and I failed, and I dated again, and then I failed, and so it was a roller coaster until I finally met my partner and we got married at the age of 34. So I understand how frustrating it is to be single, how, annoying it is to get phone calls from loved ones asking about your dating status. And it's hard because when you're young, you're not supposed to date. When you're in college, you're supposed to focus on your career. And then by the time, like when I was 21 or 22, my parents were like, all right, it's time to get married. And I was like, what? My parents even created a bio data for me. And so it was just, I think being South Asian and single and dating is challenging. And recently, Seemanti's show came out, Indian matchmaking, also highlighting the challenges that young people face in dating. And this is across the board. This is in India, this is in America, this is, South Asians are facing a tough time finding love. Today, I hope to provide some tips, some inspiration on your journey. And I really believe in you. I really believe that your right partner is waiting for you. And sometimes we have to get out of our own way to meet this special person. And that's the belief and the faith that I have, that I'm sharing these tips with you. Okay. So first of all, I want you to know that there's nothing wrong with you. Okay, you're not too old, too overqualified, too educated, too fat, too thin, too talented, not talented enough. Like, there's no too much or too little about you. Like, you are perfect just the way you are. Okay? Sometimes, though, what happens is that we block love from entering our lives. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Okay, so what are some tips that you could, or some advice that I would have for you right now? Well, first, I would say, begin an intentional journey around attracting love. So for many South Asians, career is number one. And I understand it. We're we're an ambitious people. And, I have an MBA from the Wharton School engineering degree. I was focused on my career, and honestly, I just thought, like, if I date enough, I'll meet a great partner, we'll settle down, we'll get married, have 2.2 kids, and I honestly just thought it would just flow naturally. And it didn't happen like that for me. I mean, of course, I did meet my husband in New York City at the age of 32, but it took a lot of intention to meet him. Okay, I was actively dating. I worked with a dating coach. I ended up, getting engaged to someone great. He broke up with me. And then I began working with a spiritual healer. And I began a journey of self-love, of self-discovery, and learning about what healthy love is. And also different ways that I was sabotaging my own love life through my own beliefs, my unworthiness. And so this was a bit of soul searching for me to, really dig up the muck and infuse myself with love, self-love. Okay. So that's tip number one, is become really intentional about your love life. Get support in this area of your life. I don't think there's a better investment. You can invest a lot of money in your career and getting top-notch education, but in your love life, like, that's the most important area of your life. So, don't be dissy about it. Like, invest in this area of your life. Okay. Um, and that could look like working with someone like an expert. It could be seminars, books. It could be time, just your time and energy of showing up for your love life, working on your belief system, so personal development, and things like that. Okay. So, tip number 2 is to, you know, take your parents' advice and your elders' advice, and send them back love. So what happens is we become really frustrated, and then we become angry, and we rebel against older patriarchal systems. And I get it, sometimes it feels like you're moving against patriarchy in order to achieve what you want in your life as a woman. But just know that your parents mean well. So, I used to have crying fits with my parents on the phone, and I used to hate calling them, or I always felt guilty that I hadn't found the one, or, when I was engaged to someone I thought was Mr. Right and it ended, I felt so ashamed and guilty. And, I just harbored all these emotions, and my poor parents didn't know what to do. Like, they wanted the best for me, which was to find someone to settle down with. But I was just very reactive with them, and so I just ping ponged between being pleasing to them and then feeling guilty and ashamed and then not calling them or whatever. And then when I'd go to India to visit, I'd feel embarrassed about being single. So it was at that time when I began, after that final breakup, and I began the soul searching and really loving myself, I just began to have a healthy attitude about being single and being intentional about finding, I told my parents, I'm happy. I'm actually happy inside, and I'm looking for the right partner, and I know in my heart it will occur in divine timing. Like, I just had this knowing, and I was unflappable, unshakable in my knowing about it. And so I could be single, but also be loving and open with my loved ones. Okay. So, that's tip number 2 on how to deal with the stress of being single. Okay. Tip number 3 is to open yourself up. Okay. So sometimes we tend to be very rigid in what we're looking for. So South Asian, same, state of India, same food preferences, vegetarian, non-vegetarian, and so we end up creating a checklist off of what we're dating. So someone with the same degrees as us, or even better, older, and like just very checklisty. Okay. And from my experience, when I dated from that place, I ended up being desperate, or giving off desperate vibes. And B, I ended up attracting men who were also dating off of a checklist. Like, they were looking for that trophy Indian wife. And, we couldn't see the inner beauty in each other. And so finally, when I released my filters and I just started dating nice guys from different backgrounds and just being open. And one thing I tell my clients is date multiple men. So don't just stick to one guy immediately. Like, continue dating several men and be open to just anyone who's kind, someone whose values are good. Because over time, what attracts two people are the values, the shared intention. It's not the looks, it's not the degrees, it's not, et cetera, et cetera. And so yesterday I was at the pool with my kids, and this is one reason why I'm doing these videos in the car, is because my kids are at home and it's so hard for me to find a quiet place. So here I am in my Zen zone, the car. And I met this couple. I've known them for over 2 years, and I'd never heard their love story. And I knew the woman was Catholic, and I wondered about her husband because she sent her kids to church, the school. And so I asked about her love story because she married late, like in her late 30s, mid to late 30s. She had her kids later, like me. So I was curious, like how she met her partner and all of that. And it turns out he's Jewish. And she tried dating Catholic guys, and she went to church. She did all the right things to meet like the perfect guy on paper, and it just didn't work out. And then she kind of just released her expectations. And when she was at a party, she noticed Steve, this person, and she had new eyes for him. And they'd been friends for like over a decade, but she'd not, she hadn't felt that inkling before. And suddenly she was like, huh, maybe he's the one. And it turned out he was, and they're happily married now, and they have two stunning kids. Like, my husband and I always talk about how beautiful and well-mannered and good values the kids have, how much we love them. And they like babysit our kids. Like, they're just magnificent children. The fruits of that marriage is just beautiful, And so, I'm sharing this because, I also met my husband, who happens to be Indian, after I let go of all my expectations and I just started being open and, dating different men of different backgrounds and just allowing for men to show up for me. And what I noticed, and I met my husband at a meditation group, so that, so our values were aligned there in terms of joy and spirituality and things like that, growth. And so, we just happened to connect, and he continued to show up for me, and the other guys just kind of fizzled away naturally, which, again, that's what happens when you're dating, but you're being open yet intentional. And that was it. And he knew when he saw me that I was the one, or something clicked in him, because we'd already been friends. We hadn't thought of each other in that way. And then one of our common friends was like, hey, you guys should talk to each other. And I was like, oh, okay. I used to see him around in my meditation group, and I'm like, oh, whatever. He's just another guy in the meditation group, whatever. I'm not even dating anyways, but, I am, whatever. And so anyways, and that's how we got together. And that's what I've seen for my clients across the board. It's when they become open and just allowing for men to show up for them, healthy, good natured, kind men, not necessarily spiritual men who do yoga, or like not any check boxes of the type of guy that they thought they were looking for. Because it's when you release your ego and you go into your heart and you are just open-hearted, that, synchronicities can occur in your life, that, the right types of partners, like, you just become more magnetic to healthier dynamics with people, and eventually the right guy, whether it's online dating or in person. Okay. So that's another tip, is just to be open, let go of your filters. Okay. And then the fourth tip, which I just shared, which is date several guys. Okay. So in our culture, it's common just to find one guy. It's like, we're so programmed to do the arranged marriage. Like, ours is the first generation where we get to choose our partners. We get to date and choose. So that's also why it feels challenging, because our parents don't understand us. They're like, why don't you just find someone, beta, and it's not like that. Like, we have to date, and there's pros and cons. I mean, the pros outweigh the cons, I think, because now you get to consciously choose the right partner in your life. And so what I would say is, don't just fixate on this one person that you meet that seems perfect. Like, I remember when I was online and there's this one guy who's like perfect man, like so good looking, went to Cornell, like doctor, like I don't even know. He just seemed like the perfect guy online. And I would just fixate on him, like send him flirty messages. He'd never respond. And then I dated a couple of guys that were like, very, like, in terms of qualities, very desirable qualities, and from an ego perspective. And, and I would just fixate on that one person and then it would dissolve. And it was when I just became open and dating multiple people. And again, this is what I teach my clients, and they love this. They love that they feel like they have choice, right? And that no one is being pushed into a commitment. It's two people choosing each other. They're dating multiple people and then finally choosing each other because you've had a variety of experiences and you see which partner keeps showing up for you and which partner slowly fades away. And that's what happens because for various reasons, right? The resonance, the chemistry slowly starts to fade with certain people. And with that one special person, it'll persist over time. So sometimes I say date someone for 6 months before making that commitment, because you need to have gone through an up and down with that person, where you've gone through a difficult moment and you've crossed through it together on the other side. That's when you know that your relationship has some viability. It's not enough that you two are both nice people. It's, can you guys get through tough times together, and grow and evolve together? Be emotionally available for each other. Okay. So those are some tips on dating. And, like I said, be intentional, be invest in this area of your life, focus on personal growth, treat your parents and your loved ones with respect and love, and also try to approach dating from a self-confident kind of place, and remove your filters to dating, date multiple men at once. And the last thing I would say is we have a lot of ancestral trauma and blocks in our own ethnicity and being Indian. And so work on clearing those. I've laid out a process in my book, the 90-day soulmate plan. And, that way you don't recreate similar dynamics over and over. And I've seen this across the board with friends and clients. Like, we just fall into old patterns. We never think we want to be like our moms, and yet we end up like our moms or dads, or we attract men who are like our dads. And it's because of unhealed subconscious wounds that we attract these patterns over and over. So, engage in a process where you're discovering these blocks, releasing them. And so that way you can become magnetic to the right partnership, and you're creating healthy relationship dynamics with this person. So I hope that this video was helpful for you. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe and stay tuned. Write in your comments what advice you would have for other South Asian people, South Asian women, and finding their partners, their soulmates. And I wish you the very best.